Kellogg and actually submitting official paperwork to say such, but the UEE government kind of covering it up and using the fact that Contrali basically had a number of warrants out for his arrest for basically poaching orms, which are a kind of like sentient species that do live in Kellogg too. And the fact that he was basically a wanted criminal at the time, that the UEE has denied him and his family the right to be the rightful kind of discoverers of this system. Now, for those that are familiar with Kellogg, not only is it protected planets there because of the kind of like sentient species that are on one of the planets, it's also home to Quarterdeck, which is the massive UEE prison that's there. So there's really not a lot of reasons to go to Kellogg in the first place, which made it interesting why, even though it's connected, Kronos is connected to it, that the UEE would hold on to it. There's one other jump point that connects Kronos, and it goes to Branagh, which is an unclaimed system that's just sitting out here. So as you see, if I grab the star mat and kind of move it around, you've got, it's out here in the middle of nowhere. It's not really connected to anything. So what about the system made the UEE so interested in it? Well, let's go in and take a look at it right now. As you'll first see is that the Sun is a G3V type main sequence star. It's yellow-white, and it's very similar to the Sun that's in the center of the Sol system. So that was one of the appealing things to start off with, is that it looks very similar. It has a very similar mass and luminosity as what we have in Sol. So there was a general familiarity with it. The first thing that is kind of close to it, as you'll notice, is that the two planets that are in the system are really close to the star. They're actually inside the green line here. The first one is Bruder. This is a rocky mesoplanet, and this is only about 0.3 AU away from the Sun. It does have a lot of metallic ores in the planet's surface, but being only 0.3 AU away from the Sun means that the surface temperatures are extreme and basically make any mining operations there virtually impossible. Now, the second planet in the system, as we spin this way, is Schwester, right here. And this is a little further away. It's about 0.5 AU away, but it's actually warmer than Bruder because there are a lot of gases that, in a very thick atmosphere here, which trap the heat from the Sun and basically build up a greenhouse gas effect on the planet that makes it even more inhospitable to humanity than Bruder. So why keep it? Why, if this system upon discovery had a Sun like this, two planets very close to the center of the system, and that it? There were conspiracy theories about exactly why for years and years and years. Some, believed that they would track these military shipments and haulers going in and out of the system from Kellogg. Some assumed that they were working on some kind of secret doomsday device. Others, more creatively, maybe suggested some kind of invisible space station. It ran the gamut of possibilities, and even drove one conspiracy theorist to actually stow away aboard one of these kind of like ships that were taking supplies into the system. She went in, she came back out, and she basically announced that she hadn't seen anything. There was nothing there that seemed out of the ordinary. It just seemed like another system that...
Yes, I'm eating 2 salty liquid candy, so if you hear a little bit noise, that's what I'm finished. I should not do that while I'm recording, but I did that, just eat 2. I have a little bit left of 1 salty liquid candy. Yes, this is a strong one I have shown on a video. I like to eat, but it's not good for me. It's too strong, and I'm an old man, so I should not eat it. It's not good for my stomach.
They were making a run to back and forth. Now, of course, the conspiracy theory circles thought that this meant that they'd gotten to her, and that there was something very, very big and dramatic there that the UEE was hiding, and that they had to basically, cover up. It only intensified the conspiracy theories, even though there was literally not a shred of evidence that anything really crazy was going there. Eventually, in 2872, the imperator Corbin Salehi sat down and explained.
But I cannot remember all this. I have to watch all this again one day without recording from my camcorder, because my camcorder cover my screen. It's cover the lower part of the screen. I have a screen on my camcorder as cover, yes, like this. But I can watch my screen too, of course. I do that. I watch my screen on the camcorder.
Exactly why the UEE had decided to hold on to the system. And as we back up the map here, I finally can bring it into view what we had decided to do here. And that is basically create a world from scratch. The project was known as Project Archangel, and the world is, as you'll know, is Synth World, which is right here. It's this representation of it is just a first pass. It's literally being constructed and put together right now. But this system, where there were 2 planets, and the inner part where there would be no population, there would be no industry going on there, seemed like a perfect test ground to try this very, very kind of ambitious project, because it wouldn't be disturbing any local inhabitants. It wouldn't be impeding on any economic value that the system would provide. It had a star at the center, which we were familiar with, and could deal with, and being able to have this vast expanse past Schwester, to be able to find the exact right point to be able to build this planet, kind of seemed to make sense for Imperator Salehi and this project. Now, Project Archangel came about because of something called the Clark Committee. And the Clark Committee was kind of brought together after the downfall of the Messers and the massacre of Garantu, where an entire kind of like planet's ecosystem was wiped away by terraforming just so humanity could economically take advantage of it. And humanity realized the UE had a bad reputation with the Banu and the Xi'an for the way that they handled themselves. So they wanted to try to think of very ambitious, positive projects that they could focus on. The most extreme, basically, proposal that the Clark Committee put out there was creating our own world. That way, we don't need to terraform anything anymore. We can literally just build a world, populate it, to our specifications, and it would solve those problems. When this plan first came forward, it was seen as extreme and crazy, but Imperator Salehi was absolutely convincing. He had kind of rose to the imperatorship on a wave of positive, kind of open and ambitious government. People at the time were sick of the, kind of like getting over the Messers. They were sick of this entrenched corruption that was still a part of the system. And he kind of countered that message, came in, brought this kind of like positive message with him, and basically convinced the political and the public that this would be a worthwhile project. Now, for years, this project did go on with the full support of the UEE and the population. Haulers were more than willing to bring shipments to this like far corner of the galaxy for not a lot of profit, because they know it was going to some greater good and some greater purpose. As the decades wore on and the synth world was still being constructed and billions upon billions and billions of credits being spent on it, the appetite for it kind of lessened a little bit. This was really kind of like, it really hit a turning point in 2922 when Corbin Salehi, who was no longer imperator at the time, had kind of like moved on with his life, was still the main advocate for the synth world. He ended up dying unexpectedly due to complications to his artificial pancreas. Now, when the synth world's biggest cheerleader passed away, all of a sudden the positivity and the idea that this could be something humanity could achieve kind of wilted at the same time. What happened shortly thereafter in 2925 made things even worse. Basically, Schwester here, with the greenhouse gases, the part of the Synth World project were to put refineries and different ore stations on this planet to help trap the gases and use them in the construction of Synth World. So when an independent auditor went to Schwester to look at these refineries, they discovered they weren't there. One of the project managers, Ellie Canis, basically had skimmed billions of dollars of credits off the project and just never built the refineries on Schwester. Now, what happened to that is the Terra Gazette and other papers that were against the massive government spending on the synth world splashed headlines across their front pages showing how many credits had been wasted on this basically embezzlement plot. And for the first time, the citizens and civilians of the empire finally got an idea of exactly how much money was being spent to create a planet that didn't really seem to be coming together as fast as they had hoped or had been promised. This is when basically a lot of the kickback to the synth world started to go into high gear. For those who are interested in the political breakdowns of the current UEE, one of the parties is called the Transitionalist. Their center is in Terra. They believe that Terra should be the center of humanity and the center of the UEE going forward, that Terra has always been on the forefront of where humanity needs to go. They are firmly against spending more money on the synth world. They have called it something akin to a financial vampire on the empire, and part of the reason why the UEE in 2947 faces so many looming budgetary crises is because of the money being spent on this. In fact, last year, Rachel Lester, who is a Transitionalist Party member who's in the Senate as a representative from Van in Croatia, actually put forward a sensible synth world amendment, which would basically take the funding for the synth world is mandatory in the UEE budget. The sensible synth world amendment would have made it discretionary, meaning every single year it would have had to face, it would have been on the chopping block and would have been up for vote as to whether we keep funding this project or not. So there is some heavy opposition growing stronger every day within even the halls of the Senate and other parts of the UEE government, that this ambitious synth world project, which was meant to show what humanity could achieve when we came together and focused on the good of a side of things, to basically put that by the wayside. Now you'll notice here the synth world orbiting it is Archangel Station. Now this is basically the main hub for the synth world. This is where the researchers, this is where the people who are building it, this is where they're stationed. This is where, if you're going to bring in a bunch of ore or minerals or something to help the project, this is where you're going to be dropping it off. Visiting synth world right now while under construction is, well, the 18th Battle Fleet, which still patrols this system and is based at Archangel Station, would not take to that kindly. So this is where you're going to want to go to drop off, look for missions, drop off anything you're hauling into the system for them. It is also, besides being the home to the 18th Battle Fleet, it is also home to the 999 Test Squadron, which, if you are familiar with the history of that, has been around since the earliest days of human space travel. This goes way back to even before there was a Navy that patrolled the skies. It goes back to some of the people that tested the very first spaceships for humanity that were able to go and visit the deep corners of the Sol system and test a lot of the experimental spaceships that would eventually then become commonplace thanks to their testing of their components and stuff like that. So the 999 Test Squadron, also known as the Reckless, Reckless with a W, W-R-E-C-K-L-E-S-S. They're all about making sure that when they do test these ships and new components, that they don't wreck. They're very dedicated to staying safe and secure. But with this vast expanse of space out here on the outer reaches of the system, it is the perfect location for a test squadron to be based, so they can have all this surrounding space to test different ships and stuff like that with a minimal interference from the public or anything else. The 99th Test Squadron is a fascinating story, but that is a story for another time. one which you can also find on the RSI website amongst our other lore posts and stuff like that. So that is the Chronos system for you to get to know a little bit. Again, nothing too crazy except for the fact that we're trying to build a planet there. So yeah, thank you for watching this episode of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels.
Yes, this is Chris Robertson. Chris Roberts, the founder of Star Citizen. And I have to look my upload, so I think we need a small commercial break. Yes. And then the video can load a little bit. There's a Hadron Systems. And we can look the map, but I need a small break. I need to upload. No, I need to look my upload to YouTube because I cannot just watch 40 minutes or 1 hour and I'm not uploading because that will take forever to do. That was a big sun. Yes, this is the Hadron, but I have to look my upload to YouTube. I don't think it's 9 p.m. I don't think he will be online today. Yes, short commercial break. That's the Nox Q ship. But the upload is probably running, but I have to check. Yes, the upload is running. The upload is running. What is this? The Mish Razor. Oh yeah, that's a nice one. And I need to buy one of this, and the M50 I need to buy. I think I can have this inside the Constellation Taurus that can fit inside. Could just fly it inside. Yes, but the next star system. Okay, I have to get out of full screen now. The next one is the Hadron systems. And we have the Hadron. We have the sun. That's too hot. Nobody lives there. We have the Hadron 1 planets. A gas planet with a rocky core. Hadron 1 is atmosphere is too violent to terraform. So we cannot go there. And this is the green zone, the habitat zones. We have the Hadron number 2. Yes, I did click wrong. There's a gas giant, nobody lives there. Habitat, no. A class 3 gas giant, Hadron 2 is a futureless blue globe. Okay. Let's have a Hadron belt alpha asteroid belts, and we have Hadron number 3. No. Ice giants, habitats, no. Nickname the Watcher. Thanks to the large dark spots, the planet's otherwise pale color, Hadron 3 is a massive ice giant on the fridge. Okay, so nobody live in this system. But they could do for the mining. Oh, we have the tree. And some jump points. No, should have 3 planets, but nobody lives here. But we have 54 videos, and if it takes like half an hour each video, so that's 25 hours, and 100 part of my videos is 24 hours. I think this one part video is 40 minutes. No, I cannot calculate that. 25 hours. I had to calculate to how many minutes. I had 3 videos is 1 hour. That's 25, so that would be yes, 60 or 70 videos. There would be many videos if I should do all 50. I don't need to do that, but let's see what happens.
Hello, and welcome to another installment of Lore Makers Guide to the Galaxy. My name is Dave Haddock, and Games. And if this is your first experience with Lore Makers, I'm going to bring you up to speed. We have a lot of star systems in Star Citizen, and each of those systems have their own particular history and flavor and whatnot. And so we use this show as an opportunity to delve into some of the particularly interesting aspects of each system and try to provide some insight as to not only like the system itself, but sort of why we